So I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, to two amazing parents, and I am one of 5 siblings. I met this person at work, and I was 18, maybe 19 years old, and he was 8 years older than me. I think that it also started because he was dating someone and then they broke up and he was devastated by it. I wanted to be there for him. I wanted to support him kind of like I would any other friend. But then through that process, I think, started having feelings for him. It was really, really slow. It was so slow that I couldn't see it. I couldn't pinpoint anything specifically that I thought was super manipulative. As it progressed, he became more controlling, but not controlling in a way that seemed really, really obvious. He wouldn't control what I wore, but he always needed to know where I was. And it always sounded endearing. Oh, like he really cares about my day. He cares about what I'm doing. He cares about where I'm going. He cares about who I'm with. Where I started to see the unhealthy patterns, and it really showed up in the way that he would speak to me and in the cycle of breakup and get back together. Highly protective, really wants my attention all the time, is very upset with me if I don't respond within an unreasonable amount of time, like 10 to 15 minutes. He drove my best friend and I apart to a point where I was not allowed to speak to her, I was not allowed to talk to her, I had to unfollow her on Instagram. He didn't trust who I was with, he didn't trust what I was saying, he wanted to read my messages. I've never had relationships like that before, and so it was really, really hard to see. And so at some point, I think in year 5, I was so frustrated by this cycle where everything was my fault and I couldn't do anything right. And I remember having conversations with certain friends who, would say things like, that's not really that healthy. And they wouldn't use the abuse word. And me just believing that they just didn't know him, that I just knew something different about him, that I knew the real version of him, and it would just take time for them to see it. And at that point in time, he had never done anything that would make me think abuse. But it was like the language that he would use, the angry language that he would use, and it was the cycle. They say on average it takes about women 7 cycles to get out of an abusive relationship, and I think it took me about 10. But I couldn't see the power dynamic. I couldn't see the manipulation. I couldn't see any of that until it was shown to me. And it wasn't until I let someone who had become a close friend, and I would argue is the reason that I was able to get out of abuse, who was also my pastor. I let him read my emails. I let him read my texts. And he said to me, this is abuse. Why would that be considered abuse? He's not hitting me. I don't have bruises to prove that it's abuse. What do you mean that it's abuse? And I think that it was that friendship that I think gave me the strength to know I could walk away from that and that there is something beyond that. And as someone who is quite strong and independent, it was hard to admit where I was because it was something I was so ashamed to tell other people, to tell my parents. He started getting physical. And so, the first thing is like, he's holding my arm really, really tightly. And the next thing is, it's like a shove against a wall. And then I think the last moment was when he held me by my neck against a wall. And I think that was the moment in the end where I was like, this person might be able to kill me. I believed that it was my fault. I believed it was my fault that I got myself into that. I should have known better. I think the only path forward was confession. The only path forward was the holy honesty that came from having real dialogue about what was going on, but it had to be rooted in a relationship that was safe. I think that was what brought some of the freedom, and then when you taste a little bit of the freedom, you want more of it. And then I think it came from being healed by the love of Jesus and believing that He died to set you free from that. And so once you've gone through something like that, you can't read the Bible the same. That changed the way that I saw the compassion of Jesus. It changed the way that I saw the rage of Jesus, to believe that He would have been angry that I was treated that way. And it changed the way that I understood the justice of what God is like. And the more that I read the Bible and the more that I look at the scripture, He is who He really says He is. Like when He says He's a healer, He can do it. And that doesn't mean you're gonna be healed and it's gonna be easy and there's no effort involved and there's no work involved in terms of therapy is important. It's taught me the trustworthiness of God, and that my story in hindsight is similar to a lot of the other questionable stories in the Bible where you have to question where God's hand is. And so it has challenged me to take Him at His word, that He really is who He says He is.